Well, Dr. Harris, you've done it again. You've given us great and helpful and useful information defining these 10 phases of grief, as well as telling us the stages of grief someone is experiencing and some recovery tips to help us and our listeners through the grieving process. I know a lot of this is a lot of information rather to unpack, but we needed this. We needed this episode to help people to know that you're not alone and that people care. We hope family members and friends will be able to recognize the signs of grief now. Hopefully, you are equipped to navigate the complexities of grief. We will be right back with Dr. Stanley Harris on Breaking Bread with the Boss. Yeah, this is very good, though, sir.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I hope that people will open up and spread this message, because I heard someone say one time, and we'll get back, but sometimes people need to be coached even how to go to the hospital
Right.
Yes.
and visit somebody because they don't know.
What to say.
They don't know what to say, and by the I've had situations where I've been in grief. I've lost someone and ended up having to say something encouraging to the people that was supposed to be encouraging me because they didn't know what to say. They wanted to be there and they wanted to say something, but they had no idea what to say. We just take certain things for granted, but we need to be taught.
We need to be
Yes,
taught.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, Dr. Harris thoroughly went over 7 different phases of grief, which were shock and denial, pain and guilt, anger and bargaining, depression and reflection, and the loneliness phase, the upward turn phase, reconstruction and working through, acceptance and hope. And before we went to break, Dr. Harris defined several types of grief and gave us recovery techniques that we can use to be of comfort to ourselves and or our family members or friends dealing with grief. Dr. Harris, if you don't mind, please help us to better understand some of the myths as well as the facts about grief, particularly in the demographic that we all represent, which would be the Black or the African American community. That's the one that we see firsthand. That's the one we were reared in. And of course, we want this to be a universal message. But because we represent that demographic, we want to speak specifically to them. So if you can, the myths and facts that exist, particularly in our community concerning grief, we would love for you to do that.
Thank you, Jonathan. My pleasure. The first myth that we looked at was the pain will go away faster if you ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact about that is that trying to ignore your pain or keep it from surfacing will only worsen it in the long run.
Absolutely.
Right.
It is necessary to face your grief and actively deal with it for natural healing.
That's right.
The next is important to be strong in the face of loss.
Mm-hmm.
The fact on this one is that feeling sad, frightened, or lonely is a normal reaction to loss.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Crying does not mean you're weak.
That's right.
You don't need to protect your family or friends by putting on a brave front.
Mm-hmm.
Showing your true feelings can help them and you.
Absolutely.
The next is if you don't cry, you aren't sorry about the loss.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Crying is a normal response to sadness. It's it's not the only one.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Those who
That's
don't
That's
right.
cry,
right.
those who don't cry may feel the pain as deeply as others. They may simply have other ways of showing it.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Grief
That's right.
should last about a year, and that is a myth.
Yeah.
There is no
Mm-hmm.
time. There is no right or wrong time frame for grieving. How long it takes can differ from person to person.
That's right.
At Heal Grief, we believe that grief doesn't go away. We just learn how to manage it differently
My,
daily.
my, my.
That's right.
And one more that I wanted to definitely interject is the myth that I know exactly how you feel.
Oh my
My
God.
goodness
That
gracious.
is a myth.
We've heard
That
that
is
a
a myth
lot.
because you're not inside of that person. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't possibly know how they feel.
Couldn't
That's
Even,
right.
possibly know.
even if you
That's right.
have suffered the same loss, there could be a lot of dynamics if they've lost a parent. There could be lots of dynamics going on with that loss,
Right, right.
whereby they
That's
were
right.
they were adopted as a child and
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
reconnected within the last year or so, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
very difficult for them. So they've suffered a loss twice.
Yes.
They got the loss when the parent first left, and
Mm-hmm.
now
That's
the
right.
parent died, and they've got a loss again. So they've got a
Yes.
double loss.